Smiley from the Energy Boutique with your energy forecast for April 2022. So before we jump into April, let's review what March absolutely shifted for us. For many of us, it was a very heavy month. Many of us had some very intense circumstances change in our physical realms, of course, divinely scripted because we were in Pisces season. We came into the month with that new moon in Pisces, definitely pushing us to kind of illuminate to us the experiences that we're moving away from, where it is that we had to dream a bigger dream for ourselves. We had a lot of help. We had a lot of vision, a lot of healing abilities come online. We had Mars and Venus conjunct in Aries at the beginning of March that did give us a brand new clean slate for the masculine and feminine energies to level themselves out, to find a brand new footing, to figure out what it is that we are actually passionate about, what it is that we currently desire for ourselves, what it is that we are aligned with, mind, body, and soul, and what it is that we were willing to do to actually manifest it, actually make it happen. That full moon in Virgo definitely put us in a different mind frame. Why? Because we had to get our head out of the clouds. That Piscean energy had us floating off into space, living in la la land, living in imaginary land, trying to concoct a vision and a dream for us to go ahead and start working towards. But that full moon in Virgo weighted us down, brought us back down to earth, showed us where it is that we had to dig in, actually do the work in order to make some of our dreams and our visions come through. We moved into Aries season. That was the equinox energy that ushered in this brand new astrological calendar. But we have spent the better part of Aries season thus far, really waiting for that very important shift to happen. Now, yes, we did have a solar event take place with the equinox, with Aries season. Was it the solar event? No. But as you may have been kind of paying attention and noticing, the CMEs, the solar flares, the cosmic radiation is peaking. It is building us up. But as I've been talking about, we are in energetic boot camp. Is this the event? No, we still have a couple of years before that is actually going to take place. There are a lot more people that need to be awakened to come online to start actually conducting the energy of the earth before we are going to reach the mass population needed in order to be awake and standing in their consciousness in order for that event to actually happen. But things are getting intense. Things are moving forward. We are being kind of prepped for a lot of energy that will continue to come into our cosmos, helping us to shed the carbon-based DNA that many of us have been stuck in, especially in this 3D matrix. We are having these energies, these ascension symptoms in order to push us into the crystalline DNA activation where our healing abilities come online, where our energetic bodies take over, where we are acting as the spiritual observers instead of the egoic reactors. This is all part and parcel of really detaching from the 3D physical egoic shadow part of ourselves and acting as the observer, as the alchemist, using those darker pains, those darker experiences. That is absolutely a part of our human mission in order to really peel the layers back on our true source, on our true soul, and illuminate to us our truest power. So here we are. We're coming into April. We have a brand new month before us. Let's talk about some of the life lessons that we're now shifting into. First of all, if we are going by the Gregorian calendar, that is very much our modern day calendar, we would know that April is actually the 4th month. And if we are going to stay in alignment with the Gregorian calendar, the 4th month brings us a lesson of foundation, of family, of boundaries, of building. So we are in this year of 6. We are in this year of building and creating a new system, a new framework, a new foundation for us to operate in, taking care of ourselves, mind, body, and soul. We are essentially perfecting the elements of ourselves, of our physical realities that we know we want, that we know we're aligned with. So if April is the 4th month, bringing us those lessons, of building a brand new foundation for ourselves, well, let me tell you, we have a very positive energy to actually work with April's energy. Now, let me throw something at you. April, because April brings the equinox, brings the spring, brings the brand new astrological calendar into our physical realms. One could argue that our ancestors, especially if you are aligned with the 13 lunar calendar, 13 moon lunar calendar, this would actually be the very first month of the year. Regardless, we have some big changes. We are starting fresh. Aries season is really giving us that fire energy that we need to go ahead and kind of rebirth ourselves, bring ourselves back to life, renew ourselves. You know, spring, that's when everything comes back to life. That's essentially with this fire energy when we come back to life as well. So whichever way you look at it, whichever, calendar you want to align to, this is going to be a pretty big month for us to get our shit together, to start building some very, very strong foundations for ourselves, especially reflecting back over the last couple of months that, of course, with the astrological calendar kind of leading the way, we had to go through the dark night of the soul. That's how it happens 3 months prior to the rebirthing process. So if spring is the beginning, then we've just spent the last 3 months, essentially the first 3 months of the Gregorian calendar, in the dark night of the soul, where things are falling apart, where we have to peel the layers back from our ego, where we see relationships fall apart, our ego identity shift, where we lose people, places, things that we were very much attached to. Now we're starting fresh. We have this Aries energy helping us to be bold and brave and courageous, to kind of sever the reflection, the attachments that we have with the old. We know that regardless of whether it was fair or not, we can't change the past. We have to be in a spiritual understanding right now that even the most negative situations are divinely scripted, are happening for us instead of to us, in order for us to actually stand in our greatest power. So in April, we are getting down to the nitty gritty. We are having a very, very small window of opportunity because all planets are direct. We are having a very small opportunity in April because at the end of April, we enter into retrograde season. We enter into eclipse season. So essentially, April is the foundational energy that we are using to set the tone for our next cycle, for our next season, for our next set of life lessons. Now, it doesn't matter whether you believe in religion or not. There's a lot of prophecy that always gets played out in April. Of course, we have Easter, or Estar, for those of you that are a little bit more open-minded. We have all of these different religions that celebrate essentially the exact same thing by different labels, by different names. And, if you strip away the man-made construct of all of these events, what you will get is an overlap of divine source power. So we have a lot going for us in April. And the fact that we start off April with a brand new moon in Aries at 11 degrees, a master number, with a chasmy taking place, which means that Mercury and Chiron are so freaking close to the sun, to the moon, making this new moon, that there is going to be a dramatic shift in healing, in perception, in understanding, in clarity. This is a big deal. So I just want to run through some of the highlights for April, and then we're going to jump into each event, break it down, and see how this is going to have a huge impact on us as we move throughout the month. So yes, we're starting with this new moon in Aries at 11 degrees, pretty profound. This month we have Venus moving into Pisces. We have Jupiter taking some huge actions with some of the heavy hitting planets. Jupiter, of course, about growth and expansion, about the possibilities. And Jupiter is in Pisces, which means that we are very focused on our dreams, on manifesting, on creativity, and on our healing abilities. Because of course, this Piscean energy is our soul source, our karma. So, Saturn plays into that. He is the Lord of karma. We have the true node making activations, which suggests that we are definitely making some huge progress in our physical realms to bring new elements to life, new relationships, new money matters, new self-worth, new dynamics, new routines, a new physical reality, very much replacing in a better way the elements that got shook to death, that fell apart over the last couple of months. We have Mercury making a move out of Aries into Taurus. That's usually when we get very serious, when we put the blinders on, when we start strategizing and calculating what it is that we're actually going to do. Not only in our mental plane, we have to visualize, but what it is that we're going to do here in this physical realm. Again, we are being encouraged to take dramatic shifts, dramatic actions forward. We have a huge event between Saturn and the true node this month. And to be quite honest with you, this aspect is setting us up one day prior to the most major astrological event that we are having all year. 2022 has Jupiter conjunct Neptune on the 12th. This is going to absolutely have an energy shift like no other, okay? This is something that doesn't happen very often. We have these outer planets, Jupiter itself takes 12 years to go through all of the signs. Neptune, a way larger orbit than that. And I'm not absolutely sure. I probably should have done my homework, but I did somewhere see that it was like 158 years ago or something, that this was the last time that Jupiter and Neptune came together in this way. And so, we've actually been in this energy since the end of February. We will continue to be within orb of this energy halfway through May. And then we get to refresh and revisit this energy later on this year in October to December. So again, I am going to encourage you to go ahead to check out the 2022 energy forecast that I put out, where I broke down all the months and what it is that we could expect from the major astrology for the year. That's definitely a major key factor player. We have this month Mars and Venus and Jupiter and Neptune all coming together in a stellium halfway through the month, preparing us for the full moon in Libra on the 16th. This is a big deal. It's at 26 degrees. This actually takes us back 2.5 years ago. If you have any kind of legal matters still floating around, you're going to have a full illumination on some of the information coming forth. This is about finding inner peace, inner balance once again. This is finding, where it is that we truly love, where we need to make a full shift in our consciousness, in our heart space, in our head space, in order to recognize where it is that we're not making the efforts in our physical realms necessary in order to invite more happiness and joy and peace and harmony in our lives. And, on the greater, grander stage of life right now, we could really use some peace, right? We could really use some harmony. But let me tell you that Jupiter conjunct Neptune event is something that, very much replicates some historic events, especially where quote unquote war is concerned. I say the quotes because I'm going to use that word war very loosely. I don't really even think that's what's going on here. But anyways, we're not getting into that. There is a suggestion, there is indications, there is hints and clues that some kind of global shift will be taking place shortly after this particular conjunction between Jupiter and Neptune that will really see a lot of political shifts, shifting us in the right direction, more of us awakening to our sovereignty, to our individual talents and gifts, for us kind of awakening to the world around us and what it is that we can do to try and sway it away from where the darker force agenda wants to sway it to, and put us in a position where we can really start manifesting some bigger, brighter, more peaceful, harmonious aspects here in accordance to New Earth. So of course, we're going to wrap Aries season up. We're going to move into Taurus, and Taurus kind of slows us out. It does slow us down, but our moves, our energy, the circumstances of our lives are very calculated, very strategic. We are only wasting energy if it is 100% worthy and of value to do so. So just consider this. We're coming into April. We're bouncing all over the place. We have a new zest for life. We're reborn. We're really trying to focus on what it is that we want to do for ourselves. We are making a couple of dramatic shifts forward, but let me tell you, the bulk of the building doesn't technically start to happen until we enter into Taurus season. That is an earth energy. Earth energy is our physical realms, where it is that we're able to manifest some of the ideas, some of the inspiration, some of the dreams, some of the visions that we have been really kind of bouncing around with. We are going to see some of those elements absolutely come to life in Taurus season. And then, like I said, we have this whole month up until the 29th until Pluto goes retrograde. Pluto, the great transformer. When he goes retrograde for his approximate 5-month little introverted slumber, he's going to help us integrate and stand in our power of our shadow aspect. That's why we had to go through this ego death. That's why we spend April really trying to get a vision, a direction that we want to take to rebuild ourselves in a better way. We take this energy, we actually manifest it, we bring some elements to life. Pluto goes retrograde. Suddenly, we have to move inward and reflect over the transformations and the changes that has absolutely just shook us to our core, what it is that we've been able to do to kind of redeem our realities and our egos and ourselves. And we are really going to have I'm going to say, an inner journey where we have to take a good look at where it is that we've been afraid to face our shadow, where it is that we've been afraid to sit in the pain, to sit in the suffering. Many of us look at pain and suffering as something that makes us weak and vulnerable and harms us, not realizing that that is where we gain our greatest strength, gain our greatest power. And Pluto is at the very end of his rope. He's going to be going retrograde at 28 degrees. That 29th degree is a critical crisis point. We still have a little bit of time. Well, Pluto is in Capricorn. He's going to retrograde, go back a couple of degrees. And when he goes direct later on in the fall, we're going to have to repeat a lot of the different life lessons, refresh, revise a lot of what it is that we're currently doing now in order to complete Pluto's time in Capricorn before we're going to jump into Pluto moving into Aquarius, which is just going to be such a ripple effect. That's when the true awakening happens. That's when the true transformation happens. That's technically when we start seeing what the age of Aquarius is all about. It is when the people take back their power. And it is absolutely when we're going to see the greatest change actually manifest here on this physical earth. On the same day, though, that Pluto goes retrograde, we have Mercury, ruler of the mental plane, moving into his place of power in Gemini. Now, if we reflect back over the last couple of years, especially since 2019, 2020, where the Great Awakening actually got triggered and activated for the majority of the population out there, Mercury being in Gemini was an absolute doozy of a time. Now, we even had Mercury retrograde in its place of power in Gemini over the last couple of years, and that was quite a time. That is when we seen on this physical earth the greatest divide among its people, the greatest divide between our own hearts, our own heads, the greatest divide within our own relationships, the greatest divide between our ego and our spirit, and of course, on the greater, grander scale, we've seen the divide among the human population, the human collective. Many of us very much awake now, very much in a state of awareness that we were not even 2 years ago. And those of us that are awake, still observing those who are still asleep, it is quite a time. The division has never been so great, never been so deep. And of course, on the 30th of this month, we are going to end this beautiful April month off with a new moon, solar eclipse in Taurus. So as you may remember, we have the true node of the moon currently on the Taurus and Scorpio axis, giving us a life lesson for the next, technically, year, because we're already a couple months into it, where all of these eclipses are going to be on the Taurus or Scorpio axis. A new moon is a fresh slate, a new beginning, a brand new start. A solar eclipse technically gifts us with something. It rewards us for something. It puts something in our life. And because this is Tauran energy, this is about self-love, self-worth, self-value, where it is that our relationships are concerned, where it is that money matters are concerned, where it is in our physical realms that we are rebuilding, restructuring, reorganizing our physical existence. Ego, spirit, body, and of course, the inner workings of what it means to be a human here in this earth plane in our physical realms. So to say that April isn't going to be jam-packed, that would be just an awful, awful understatement. We have to understand that the CMEs, the solar flares, the cosmic radiation is only going to intensify. Many of us have already kind of graduated to the second, third, fourth, maybe even fifth level of this energetic boot camp, depending on how long it is that you've been awake and doing the energy work necessary to move these blockages through your human, biological, physical form, and of course, release the pain and trauma stored up in your cellular memory, in your physical form. So we are going to continue to get blasted. We have a lot of beautiful energy, beautiful alignments, bringing cosmic intelligence in from other realms, from other star systems. This is essentially preparing us to truly embody our energetic soul self, reminding us of who it is that we've always been, reminding us of the resources, the wisdom, the skills, the talents, the abilities that have laid dormant within us for many, many moons. And so April is definitely going to be a fire kind of month. So let's jump in it. Let's see what April actually has in store.